honest a lot of the time. That is not what I mean. I mean being honest when it does not come by itself. So that takes some or less courage. Also, an open heart is, works well, better than closed. So you can, for example, you can be honest about things of yourself. For instance, when you're insecure or you feel, yeah, whatever you feel that you really think you cannot really share, putting it out in the open. Or it can be something you were honest about someone else.
No.
Is there a particular resource? Sorry, that's not good.
No.
Yeah, if you want to know more about honesty, you can contact your deepest self.
Just some.
Yeah, please.
So we do a little different. We try to collect some of the collective intelligence in our group and make it into one phrase. And the first one we have is welcoming the input of others, and which was alive for us in different ways. And like for me personally, I remember maybe 10, 12 years ago, I was having a small organization, like a small center. And for the first time in my life, I started to ask people for help. You know, before that I had the feeling I have to push the car, I have to pull the car, I have to lift it up, I have to put it down, and I'll have to do it by myself. And then this was the first time that I asked people for help, and you know, people wanted to help. And of course people, you know, there was a lot of people that had very different qualities than I had. So it was not only a big relief for me, but it was also incredible enrichment for the organization as a whole. And, you know, it's something I kept doing, and it's still alive now in our center. We just went to a new center, and you know, hundreds of hearts and hands have helped to build it. So that was definitely, I mean, that was the personal way it was for me, but it was also just, for example, that's not too far. You know, that just to invite people to give their you know, their view and their opinion helps you to get you out of the box of your own mind, because you know, we're always somehow kind of crowded, you know, cramped up in our own box of thinking, and other people help to come out.
Do you have a second to it?
We have a second one? Shall I do it?
Yeah.
The next one we summarize as giving voice to the inner or intuitive voice. You know, which in a way already links into the last thing I was saying. You know, sometimes we're trapped in, you could say, habitual patterns of thinking, and there is much more wisdom in us than those patterns. And you know, there's different ways I think we all use to tap into this inner voice. For example, in me, I'm trying to explain it personal as well. I've been doing a lot of spontaneous movement from the Qigong tradition, which is a way, you know, where you go into a certain posture and you allow everything within you to happen. It can either be physical movements, can be visions, can be sounds, and even on a level of movements, you know, sometimes you make movements you cannot believe you can do it. You're so either so flexible or beautiful, beyond what you can do when you decide to do it. But it's not only about bodily movements, the same, at least for me, you know, sometimes when I feel lost in all the administrative work, organizational work, I just kind of allow the same space in my head. And then frogs appear, and birds, and elephants. And thank God I have to go ahead and take them all.
Thanks for that. So that was from that group. So we got that group covered. That group covered.
No.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's okay.
The work that reconnects, which is developed by Joanna Macy.
What's it called?
The work that reconnects. And it's basically what we did this morning in a different way. So it's developed by an American eco-philosopher. She's called.
It's beautiful work.
It is beautiful. And those are really simple exercises, extremely simple, and extremely effective to let people experience basically their connection to the cosmos, first to themselves, to fellow human beings, to surrounding nature, and evolution in time and space. And it just works also through the emotions. So people learn to sort of re-appreciate or re-evaluate their negative emotions as signals of their connectedness. So experiencing pain or anger about the state of the world is a signal that we're interconnected. There's much more.
Can you spell her last name?
Yeah, it's Macy, M-A-C. JoannaMacy.net, I think it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think if you type the word connects, you'll find it. That's your
The second one of the group is very similar to what Sydney brought up, opening up for the help of others. Co-creation. So in the old days, we in companies just did our innovation inside, and this inside-out innovation, looking at your own strengths, etc., is of course still very important. But your role from the inside out is. But opening the doors of your company for any stakeholder involved in the problem, and not asking how should the solution look like, what is your solution, what's your solution, but ask them what are the what qualities do you ask for in this solution we're looking for, and by looking at all demands of all stakeholders, after that facilitate the creative process of designing together a solution where all the qualities are respected.
Is there a resource for
I
that?
think-
Talk about the application of that to organizations.
Yes, in theory, there's a lot about co-creation. So
Yeah, there's definitely one.
Do we have somebody that's going to talk about theory U, review theory?
Otto is in company.
We had it in our group, but we didn't choose it.
Okay. All right. Is there someone that can speak intelligently about? Sorry. Is there someone that can speak knowledgeably about theory?
U theory.
Theory.
Otto Schammer.
Well, of course, we tell and the process.
There's a book back there.
Barrett, talking about resources, I did bring my laptop, and I've got Otto Scharmer provided a classroom, a global classroom via internet, where he gave 5 classes. Of course, we're not able to look at them here, but I'm happy to share those resources.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic if you could email them to Anouk, and she'll get that out to you, or email the links to Anouk.
Yeah, we'll have to find a way, because they're quite a big video presentation thingies, but we'll find a way.
Like when you do a server upload, so we just send it a link.
1,000 scenes.
Okay. One of the ones that we chose was the natural step framework. Sorry if you guys. Sorry. The natural step framework is a robust planning methodology framework that can be used in individual organizations, groups, society, all the levels we have here. It encompasses a handful of different qualities to it. The first is that it's systems-based, so it takes a systems perspective.
Sean, you have 2 minutes, by the way. You can have mine.
It takes a systems perspective. It's science-based, so it looks at the system and our existence within the system from a scientific perspective and the scientific limits that the system presents, as well as from a human needs-based perspective. It then backcasts from a future society envisioned based on those principles. So it looks at a future society based on, or an organization within that society, within that biosphere, that uses those principles. And then has a strategic planning framework that allows you, organization, etc., to move towards that society. and it has prioritization points. So